Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Mark Kaboly questions how long Steelers can play Broderick Jones, maybe it is Spencer Anderson time. Pittsburgh Steelers second-year Broderick Jones has had a year to forget so far. It's almost easy to forget the Steelers already benched him back in Week 2, only regaining his job due to injury. Since then, he hasn't exactly improved by leaps and bounds, at least not consistently. On Sunday, he had another rough outing with multiple penalties and a sack allowed. It's all once again raised the question of what the Steelers should do, and what their options are. At least it has for reporter Mark Kaboly. Appearing on 93.7 The Fan on Tuesday, he asked, how long do they wait, or do they wait, for Broderick Jones? As his hosts quickly pointed out, the Steelers don't have many other options. The man who replaced him in the starting lineup, rookie first-round pick Troy Fautanu, is on the reserve/injured list. The only other tackles besides Broderick Jones on the 53-man roster are Calvin Anderson and Spencer Anderson. The former Anderson played briefly and allowed a sack in the red zone. Steelers HC Mike Tomlin has vociferously defended Jones over the past 2 days, both after Sunday's win and during yesterday's press conference. I have no intention of blinking and neither does he told reporters about Jones' starting status. We'll just keep working. But many question Tomlin's true feelings, especially in light of his previous decision to bench Jones when Fautanu was available. It's probably because of what they have, Kaboly said. But you cannot continue to have right tackle play like that. Kaboly hastened to add that Broderick Jones has great talent, and refuted the notion that he was on the path to being a bust already, adding that he can very well bounce back. But how long until you have to make that decision? Something has to be done. I don't know what it is. Maybe it is Spencer Anderson. I mean, could it get worse at this point? When it comes to Broderick Jones, I think we amplify the negative snaps too much at times, even if penalties and sacks are very costly. In more recent weeks before Sunday, he has gradually improved, and obviously the Steelers have been able to run the ball with him all season. But there's no denying he is one of the weakest links on the entire team this season. Many have speculated that he is playing through injury. Others continue to insist that Jones would look more comfortable and natural on the left side. The, hopefully, good news is that Broderick Jones has an opportunity to redeem himself in short order. With the Steelers playing the Browns on Thursday night, he only has to wait 2 more days. It is an interesting challenge because they don't have a consistent presence at left edge rusher. Ogbo Okoronkwo and Isaiah McGuire largely platoon there, but Myles Garrett also sees time there. Which is just what the Steelers need. Tim Benz, Steelers have to improve upon recent checkered history in Cleveland. It's not just Steelers players and coaches who need to turn the page on a win over the Baltimore Ravens as quickly as possible. Fans and those of us in the media have to as well. It's tempting for fans to bask in the afterglow of an 8th win in 12 tries over the hated Birds from Baltimore. It's easy for those of us who cover the Steelers, 8-2, to toss barbs at the Ravens, 7-4, for their mental block every time they see black and gold. However, it's a quick turnaround to Thursday's game against the 2-8 Cleveland Browns. So, we may not want to spend too much time throwing rocks at glass houses in Maryland because, somewhat quietly, Huntington Bank Field in Cleveland has recently become a house of horrors for the Steelers. Between Cleveland's return to the NFL in 1999 and the end of the 2017 season, the Browns managed just 6 victories against the Steelers in 39 tries, counting the playoffs. Since then, though, things have been more balanced, especially when the teams square off in Northeast Ohio. From the start of the 2018 season until now, the Steelers have been just 1-4-1 against their longtime neighbors on the other side of the state line when they go on the road. The environmental component has our attention, Steelers coach Mike Tomlin said of going to Cleveland this week. Thursday night in a hostile, division environment is something that we need to be ready for. The Steelers haven't done that well enough in recent years, especially when you consider the opposing quarterbacks Tomlin's teams have lost to in their trips up to the lake over that 6-year stretch. They were, in order, Tyrod Taylor, Baker Mayfield twice, Jacoby Brissett and Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Tomlin said this year, as it was in those, what makes Cleveland threatening is how their defense plays in the dog pound. The environmental component, primetime television, the wave that Myles Garrett and others provide up front, they've had a top-quality rush group for a number of years. You couple that with a talented and veteran secondary group, they're good up front. They've got a nice umbrella on the back end, Tomlin said. Those things that I outlined and others have our attention from a prep standpoint. At least this year, they'll be prepping with a veteran quarterback in Russell Wilson, who has a resume that suggests he can handle such circumstances. Plus, Wilson is 3-0 during his career in Cleveland with a 6 o'clock touchdown-to-interception ratio, a completion percentage of 67% and a passer rating of 114.7. Lamar Jackson made me think differently about Pittsburgh Steelers, claims NFL expert. Lamar Jackson typically has been anywhere from productive to explosive this season. However, despite Jackson collecting positive reviews like Pokémon cards, the Ravens' quarterback is only human. As such, the quarterback is capable of making mistakes and not being at his best every time. That said, when he gets shut down, it is a shock to the system. Jackson has proven the ability to win games with his legs, his arm, and even his acumen, although he hasn't been able to prove it in the Super Bowl just yet. Still, completing under 50% of throws in any contest is a red flag, especially against a foe like the Pittsburgh Steelers. One former Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback didn't waste any time in getting after Jackson's offensive performance against Russell Wilson. Speaking on a November 18 edition of Pro Football Talk, NFL analyst Chris Sims laid down the law with the Ravens' offense including Lamar Jackson. He claimed that even against the Steelers' defense, there was no reason for a sluggish performance. I thought we'd see a few more plays from the Ravens on offense. It makes me think differently about the Steelers. It does. And the Steelers and the way they could corral Lamar Jackson. We never really saw a whole lot of magical plays from him. He's always going to make a few, don't get me wrong, but not nearly what we usually see, he said. A lot of moments of fading away and having to throw the ball away. Not a lot of big explosive plays down the field. I was still surprised that the Steelers did that to that offense with all these weapons because there's no excuses for this Ravens offense. They got everything, he added. Between Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, Deontay Johnson, Rashad Bateman, and others, the Ravens have no shortage of talent. They faced down the Denver Broncos' top 6 unit at the beginning of November and had no trouble dismantling the defense, proving they can defeat any defense. This won't be the last meeting between the two teams. The Baltimore Ravens will face the Steelers on December 21 in Baltimore. As divisional opponents, the Ravens face the Steelers twice every season. This year, with both teams showing a playoff pace, they could even meet a third time in January. Depending on how the seeding shakes out and whether Patrick Mahomes has another deep playoff run in him, the matchup could even take place in the AFC Championship. Will Jackson be able to get back to that stage? And you fan? What do you think of the situation of Lamar Jackson? Leave your opinion in the comments.